The mirror shouldn't have been there. It leaned against a folding table at the yard sale like it had been waiting for me. 7 feet tall, brass frame dull with age, and a glass surface too clean to be real. The way it reflected light didn't feel natural. It felt intentional, like it was choosing what to show. The air around it was still. Too still. I stepped closer, drawn in by something I couldn't name. My footsteps felt muffled, like I'd stepped out of the world and into something watching from behind the glass. My reflection stared back, but the longer I looked, the less it felt like me. A voice broke the silence behind me. "You taking that thing?" I didn't turn around. "Yeah. $5. I tossed a bill behind me without looking. My eyes stayed locked on the mirror. I don't even remember lifting it, just that it was warm, almost pulsing under my fingers, like the brass frame had a heartbeat. It was far too heavy for one person, but I managed, hauled it into the car, slammed the trunk. The mirror filled the rear window the whole drive home. I kept glancing at it, not to check the glass, to make sure it wasn't changing. Every time I blinked, I swore the reflection was a second behind. I mounted it in the hallway upstairs, right outside my bedroom. The second it was in place, something shifted. The temperature dropped. The silence deepened. The shadows stretched longer than they should. The house didn't feel empty anymore. That night, something pulled me out of sleep. No sound, no dream. Just pure, skin-crawling awareness. I stepped into the hallway and froze. The mirror was waiting. My reflection stood in the glass, perfectly still. I moved. It copied, but wrong. Slightly delayed, not quite synced. I leaned closer. It was smiling. I wasn't. I raised a hand. It did too, but a second late, like it had to think about it. My fingers touched the glass. The surface was ice cold. The smile widened. I backed away, step by step, never turning my back on it. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw it smiling. So I stopped closing them. By the second night, the mirror had stopped pretending. It no longer waited for me to move. It didn't copy. It watched. Every time I walked past, I saw something new. Not always obvious, just a flicker in the background, a shadow near my feet, a handprint that wasn't there before. Once, I saw the hallway behind me stretched longer than it should have been, like the house inside the mirror was growing. I started recording it with my phone. 10 minutes of footage, perfectly normal. I watched the video, rewatched it. Nothing. But when I looked back up, the mirror showed me standing there, with a figure behind me. I spun around. Empty hallway. Turned back to the mirror. Nothing. I started leaving the lights on at night, every single one. Still, the reflections grew darker, heavier, like the mirror wasn't showing what was, but what was coming. The third night, it showed me dead. I walked past it at 3:12 a.m. I remember the time exactly because I couldn't stop staring. My reflection stood motionless, blood down the front of my shirt, neck bent at an unnatural angle. My eyes were wide open, mouth frozen mid-scream. I was still breathing, still alive, but the mirror didn't care. I raised a hand. The reflection didn't move. It just stared. I turned to leave, but the sound stopped me cold. A sharp, wet breath from behind the glass, like lungs that hadn't worked in years suddenly remembered how. I faced it again. This time, I didn't see myself at all, just the hallway, just the empty space where I should have been. And then I stepped into view, and it flinched. That's when I realized it wasn't a mirror anymore. Not really. It was a window. No, a rehearsal. Mirrors don't lie, but they do rehearse. It was learning, watching, practicing how to be me. I didn't sleep that night either. I sat on the floor across from it, wrapped in a blanket, watching it back. Every flicker of movement, every twitch that didn't belong to me, every fake breath. It wasn't copying anymore. It was getting ready. I didn't look in the mirror during the day anymore. It was only at night that it really came alive. Midnight to 4 a.m. That's when it watched hardest, when the air near it felt thick, electric. Wrong. On the third night, I made the mistake of watching too long. I stood in front of it for 15 minutes, unmoving, staring at the thing wearing my face. At first, it mirrored me perfectly. Same dark circles under the eyes, same tight jaw, same nervous twitch in the fingers. Just me, exhausted and unraveling. Then it blinked. I didn't. I felt my heart stutter. I leaned in. It leaned in too, but smoother, more fluid. Like it wasn't following me anymore. Like it was moving first and I was the one playing catch-up. Then it tilted its head to the left. I stayed still. It smiled. I didn't. I held my breath. The thing in the glass raised its hand and dragged a single finger across the mirror from left to right, slow and deliberate. My own hands were still at my sides, not moving. I should have run, should have looked away, should have done anything but stare. But I stood there, rooted to the floor, unable to look away. My brain was screaming, but my body felt disconnected, like I wasn't in full control anymore. Then it pressed its hand to the glass. So did I. But this time, I wasn't mimicking. It was. I stepped back. The thing in the mirror didn't. It stayed where it was, palm flat against the glass, watching me like I was the one inside. Watching like it understood something I didn't. And then, it moved first. It tilted its head again, farther this time, to an angle no neck should go. Still smiling. That's when it hit me. Mirrors don't lie. But they do rehearse. I don't know where the thought came from. Maybe I'd read it somewhere, maybe the mirror put it there, but it felt true. Too true. It wasn't copying anymore. It was studying, practicing, getting better at pretending to be me, learning what my face could do, what my body wouldn't. I turned away, took 2 steps down the hall. The lights flickered overhead, not like a bulb dying, but like something big was passing through the wires. The house felt confused, off balance, like it wasn't sure which version of me it should trust anymore. I covered the mirror with 2 thick blankets and slept downstairs on the couch, lights blazing, knife in hand. Didn't help. At 3:17 a.m., I woke to a sound I'll never forget. Knuckles. Dragging slowly along the upstairs hallway wall. Not walking, pacing, back and forth, like it was testing the space, waiting for the right time. And for the first time since I brought it home, I realized something horrible. The mirror didn't want to trap me, it wanted to replace me. I woke up to silence, not the normal kind, the heavy kind, the kind that feels like a held breath, like the world's waiting for something to move first. It was still dark. My phone said 3:21 a.m. Upstairs, the mirror should have been covered, should have been hidden, but I felt it, awake and watching. I sat up on the couch, heart already pounding. Something was wrong with the air. It felt warmer, wetter, like something had breathed into the room that shouldn't be breathing. Then I heard the creak. One soft, deliberate footstep on the floor above me, then another, then nothing. I grabbed the knife from under the blanket and moved slowly to the stairs. Didn't make a sound, didn't even breathe. I reached the top. The hallway was empty. The mirror was uncovered. The blankets I'd thrown over it were crumpled on the floor like they'd been peeled back from the inside. My reflection wasn't there. The hallway inside the glass was empty. For the first time since I bought it, the mirror wasn't showing anything. I turned my head slowly. Behind me, the light in the guest room flickered. Another creak, this time behind the bedroom door. Then something dragged across the floor, bare feet, slow and scraping. I inched toward the sound, blade shaking in my grip. The door creaked open. The room was dark, too dark, but I could hear breathing, shallow, wet, gurgling like lungs full of dust. I whispered, "Who's there?" Something moved in the far corner. I raised the knife. It stepped into the light. It was me, but not. Same face, same clothes, but the skin was waxy, almost melting. The mouth hung open, twitching at the edges. The eyes, those were the worst, wide, unblinking, and hungry. And it smiled. Not like before. This one stretched too far, lips splitting at the edges, a grin made to mock my face. I stepped back. It didn't follow. It tilted its head, same angle as in the mirror. It was testing me. No, it was choosing the moment. Then, in perfect silence, it turned and walked back toward the hallway, past the mirror, toward the stairs. It didn't need to chase me. It already knew my patterns, my house, my voice, my fear. I didn't follow. I couldn't. I just stood there, shaking, breathing hard, watching it disappear down the hall, like it belonged there, like I was the stranger now. It didn't come back upstairs. I stood frozen in the hallway listening, not for movement, but for my voice. I was terrified it would speak in it, call my name from downstairs like it belonged there. It never did. I waited until the sun rose, until the light burned away enough of the fear to let me move. The mirror still showed nothing, no reflection, no hallway, just a gray, rippling surface like water waiting to be touched. I should have smashed it then. I thought about it, but part of me needed to know which one of us it wanted. That night, I set the trap. I waited downstairs with the lights off, knife in one hand, hammer in the other. I left the mirror uncovered. I gave it what it wanted: darkness, stillness, silence. At 3:46 a.m., I heard footsteps. Mine. Same weight, same rhythm. I didn't move. It walked into the living room like it had every right to be there. I stepped forward. So did it. We stood 6 feet apart. Same eyes, same scars, same breath. "You don't belong here," I whispered. It tilted its head. "Say something," I demanded. It smiled. The worst part wasn't that it watched me. It was that I started watching back. My own voice, perfectly matched. The timing, the pitch, the memory of the thought twisted into sound. It rushed me. We hit the floor hard. Knife clattered away, hands around my throat, my hands around its. It didn't feel like fighting a person. It felt like wrestling a memory. I reached for the hammer. It clawed at my face. I swung once, caught its shoulder. Again, its jaw cracked. Again, its skull. It screamed. But it didn't die. It crawled toward the mirror, dragging itself like a broken puppet. I followed, blood blinding one eye, heart pounding like a war drum. It reached the frame. The mirror shimmered, just for a second, and then I tackled it through. I don't remember the impact. I just remember the cold. And then, silence. I woke up alone, on the floor, covered in sweat and blood and glass. The mirror lay shattered around me, dozens of fragments. Each one showed a different version of me, laughing, crying, screaming, dead. Every shard reflected something real, except mine. Mine showed nothing. No face, no breath, just empty silver. I swept up the pieces, buried them, moved. But I still check mirrors sometimes. Not to see myself, to make sure I'm still here. Because something watches from the cracks, and one day it might want another chance.
Some say it's shattered, but things like that don't break. They wait, and if it remembers your face, it will find the cracks. So go ahead, look again. It already knows where to find you. And when it does, you'll want to come back here, back to the fire, where I will be waiting for you. And next time, the story might be yours.